Hello everyone and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2 and to RioDisney. Before I explain what we're doing today, the first sort of 2 hours of the footage didn't work out quite well. Just wanted to show it off. It is this entrance area with the cash registers for our Aqua Park. Let's get right to it. We are finishing off the building today that we started last week. Towards the end there's just a little bit of a roofing left to do over on the left hand side, but we're going to get right to it. It's all about the entrance plaza today and finishing that off, especially a lot of plant work and gardening work that Disney is so famous for. We're going to tie that in all really nicely with our traditional Brazilian themes that we have been using throughout. But first, time to finish off this main building. We're adding in some indoor cash registers here as well. We're actually using the information booths. Whether or not guests will actually head this way, I don't know, but it looks good. With the shutters, they will open and close as need be, and they are there in a nice position. Of course, the roofing in this area is quite tricky because it's all at various different angles, which makes it look really good, but when you're actually trying to fully enclose it, it makes it quite difficult. We are using these curved areas then of the roof that we are twisting back and forth. Gives this nice little mini look within the big roof. And then on the side here, just adding in some guest facilities such as toilets. We have some, of course, inside the park, but we don't have some on the other side. So that's what this section of the building will be for, and that will be enclosed, and it actually works out quite nicely because that means that we can easily enclose the rest of the roof and blend it all in, because behind all of this will be the backstage stuff. Of course, we will make that in a later episode. Going for a little bit of a dark stone finish then. We did that, of course, on the main building as well, continuing that theme on here, and it just looks really, really good. Finally closing off this initial section and putting a roof over the top of the toilet building there as well. Inside the toilet building, we are going to put a few concrete slabs in as the ceiling. Keep it nice and simple, reasonably budget friendly. Disney does not have an unlimited budget, and for toilets it's not very much necessary. It's time to move on to the main portion of the roof. As you can see, I am constantly looking around, making sure that it all looks good, because the issue is we don't want things poking through. There we go again, tucked underneath. We can see a few things stick out there, so we're just going to get rid of that as we all puzzle our way through the giant roof section here, and it has become a really, really big roof. The backside, I don't really care about how it looks, or the top side. People aren't going to see that anyway. We have to work within the limitations of the game as long as the guest side looks really nice and we don't get any weird angles from when we're backstage. Then finishing off, and thank goodness I found this thatch sort of top, which we just slide into place. Again, it doesn't line up perfectly, but you don't notice that from the guest area, and it's just a little bit of tweaking. Now, the biggest issue we have, of course, is this building does not fit the theme of the main entrance. The main entrance that we built 2 episodes ago, it does not fit very well. So we want this tunnel. Tunnel is used a lot by park designers just to get through the various different themed areas. You'll see that we'll use that throughout RioDisney all the time as we go from land to land, and finishing that off with a few more of these stone pillars just to give that a little bit of a 3D effect there. It works out really, really nicely. Time to get the pathways in now. The design concept behind Disney Pathways is that they're big, they're wide, they're spacious, and especially with this we need to make sure that guest flow is done correctly along with the sightlines. So whilst pathing usually seems very simple, it actually became a really complex task, because not only do we have the different textures here that you can see from the main entrance plaza for the train station, we also have these slightly lighter pathways which will fit to the hotel and the aquatic park. We're using them in both, but then at the same time we need to make sure that the gardens fit. Also, guest flow, that is another thing. So we can see the constant tweaking going on to make sure that the guest flow is perfect and that the guests see what we want to see. Speaking of see what we want to see, gardens. I like water features. If you see my Planet Zoo, I absolutely adore water features. They just add so much. So we're adding a little bit here as well. Again, that helps us separate the 2 different themes that we're going for, so that really, really isolates aquatic from main park, and that's exactly what we're doing. We've of course done the Mickey shape, very classic, in front of the main entrance. That's going to be shape of the overall garden, and we're going to go for a little bit of a modern Mickey on the inside. It's time to work then on these circular planters that are spread throughout the central plaza. These work out really well. They are circular, makes it just nice and easy, and we're just going to make one and copy and paste that all around just for a little bit of ease of mind. Flowers can't go amiss at Disney parks. They are everywhere, especially the main entrance. We want this lovely, colorful, vibrant area. You're in Rio, you're in Brazil, you're at Disney. It has to be beautiful. At the same time, it has to be a little bit jungly, and that's exactly what we're doing. The middle flowers there are slightly elevated off the terrain, just so that they create a nice full atmosphere, and we're going for that little green luscious bottom to make sure it's all good. Finishing off with a few small palm trees, and we're just going to layer this up. A few leaves there in the middle by the Kentia palms, a couple of rhododendron bushes in the middle we'll add throughout, and then a banana palm in the center. Can add a few more plants in because you can see it, we're constantly twisting around. There's going to be some aloe in there a little bit later, but not before we create a little bit of a rocky base, as the flowers are of course slightly higher and just looks really, really nice. Actually, we're going for foxglove flowers. We're doing aloe a little bit later in a different area. These look really nice. I really like the way they turned out, so we're going to copy and paste them all throughout the plaza, and again they look really, really nice. They're all symmetrical on either side, and it just creates this really nice look, especially once we finish off the central garden, the central lake. We are going to work on the ears then. Now, like I said, the inner lake is going to be a modern version of Mickey, mainly because of game limitations, but sometimes you have to work with what you've got, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to get rid of those fences up top there, but we're creating the basin there for our water. We're going to fill in the rest of the land a little bit later on. So the ears worked out really well, but then as I was creating this, I was like, oh, the face is going to look very unique, but on the other hand, that's a top-down thing. Guests aren't really going to see it, so I want the base shape to sort of be quite nice. And then I looked at this and I was like, you know what, this looks like a modern Mickey, and I really, really quite liked that aesthetic. We're going to raise it slightly just to create that little bit of a realistic look that there is a man-made basin in here for water, and then we finish that off with some walls on the side. Now, just creating the terrain, make sure that's nice and sharp, good edges there, and then becomes we move on really to the most tedious bit of this entire episode, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't do every single garden in today's episode, because the recording itself was about 8-9 hours long, and about 4 of those were placing down these fences everywhere, because as you can see they're all quite small. We scaled them way down, and we line them up with the curbs, which is all fantastic hunky-dory, but that means that every single one of them has to be hand-placed, and it just takes a long while, and it's a bit tedious. Flowers, again, we're going for the similar aesthetic as we made with our little circular rotundas there, so we're going to do flowers throughout, and we're going to intersect them with a variety of different plants, but of course the most important thing there is that we get that nice, beautiful dome on the train station all correct. We're going, again, for some of these yucca plants. We're going to go 3 on either side, copy and paste that round to the other side for symmetry. Some palm trees there as well, just for that rainforest vibe, and we're constantly checking to make sure that we're not going over the sight lines. You can see how that lines up perfectly with the leaves. Adding in some rose bushes, we got some rhododendrons there, like I mentioned earlier, we were going to add them in, and it just works out really, really, really well. I love the way this eventually turns out. We're going to add in some night lighting a little bit later with a few splashes of color, and it looks stunning. It can't go amiss that we have a beautiful fountain in the middle, and that's exactly what we're doing now. We're creating the structural base for that, with all of the connections will flow below the land, and we're just going to hand make this fountain all by ourselves. We twist and turn some of these pieces around just to give me a nice little base for it, and then it's really just about adding the jets and seeing what works. When it comes to fountains, I always have a base idea in my head of roughly what I want to do. However, it usually just turns out with whatever aesthetic we find and whatever pieces I find first. So we've got these lovely little fountain jets on the side, nice and small, ties it all in quite nicely in the middle, and then we have the really high one, 3 of them in the center, and then we've got these medium ones that flow in from the middle really to the actual center. And I thought, you know what, it's kind of missing, it needs to be grand. We're going to swap this round, and we're going to add in a few more that go outwards, and that creates a really nice aesthetic. Those outward flowing ones we copy and paste and we put up into the ears, and we're going to later put them at the aquatic park as well, because it just looks really nice. I love that they're very subtle. You don't really see them that well, but they are there, and they just open up the atmosphere a little bit. Couple more planters then here for our square boxes, which are right in front of the cash registers there and in front of the main entrance. These need to be quite low down, but again, it just creates that little bit of extra depth that you're always looking for. Whenever I speak to some people, especially those who are like struggling to get depth in buildings, plants always work very nicely. They create a nice 3D effect, 3D atmosphere. And there is the aloe vera plant. I knew we were going to use it at some point. They are in there. They are one of my favorite ones. I love it. And we're going to go for these beautiful desert fan palms. They're nice and small. They're subtle, but they're quite different to what we've done so far. And again, it creates that slightly different look to it. Getting these in place then, they are symmetrical in front of the entrance, and once again they leave the central bit open. Time to work on more fence work. Initially this is high up, we're going to sink that right down below as an almost mini curb type of thing. These really nice pirate stockade fences all the way around. That's for aquatic side of the park. Again, theming and the way theme park design, of course, works is the fact that everything needs to tie in together, and that's exactly what we're doing there. Not before I got bored by fences and I started adding in and spamming lights everywhere. These turn out really well. We'll see it in the cinematics a little bit later. Just the overall aesthetic. We've got some lovely little pink hues, some blue hues, etc. They all look really nicely, and we light up our little palm trees there as well with a light little pink hue. I think I might change a few of them to a little bit of blue a little bit later on. We needed to extend the railway there just so that I knew, and there we go. There's the hideous roof design I made initially. I never deleted it yet. I probably will, because I'm quite happy with the way it's turned out now, but I just moved that to one side and it can just bathe there in all of its hideousness. We are adding in some bridges. These are the bridges that will transport the guest from the main park entrance and the sort of shopping district into the aquatic area. Like I said, that's why I wanted the river in here. That creates that immediate pop for the guest, that they know, okay, I'm no longer in this land, I am now in this land. It changes. Later on, we'll change the pathway to match that as well. And immediately a psychological trick works on our guests that they know that they're now in a different place. We're going to move that into position and put it all around the various different bridges. Of course, on the far side, we've got the tunnel, which creates that similar effect there up the top. A little bit of water there to add in, and that's just to see if the edges work before we add in loads of flowers and plants and finish this whole area off. As you can see, I cut out most of the fence work. You can see the bamboo there, or the wood on the side, and how it's like nice and low down. It's slightly above the curbs, still tells that story of, hey, I don't want you to walk on the gardens, but at the same time it creates a little bit of depth that we're looking for these gardens, and it just looks really nicely. It's that sort of subtle hint with the wood into the main entrance that I really like, and I'm in love with these rhododendrons. Of course, we're creating this overflow area, as I like to always call it, between hotel, aquatic park and the station. So using a very similar type of nature, plants, etc. all over the place. Again, the palm trees for Rio and everything, and it works really well in all of these themes. A little bit of the fairy tale planters in there. It was a little bit of an empty spot there, and I thought it looked quite nice. We got the lovely little flowers, and as you get closer, you just see the planters. It just adds that little bit extra. Now, if you see my Planet Zoo video, the otter video that we made last week, we will know that I have discovered that rocks are superior for any coastline, and that is exactly what we're doing here, adding in the same flat rocks all the way around. Before we continue on our merry way with the fences, as you can see, I'm doing this all over the road really with the fences because they are so tedious, and if I do them all in one go, it will take hours and I will also lose the will to live, and I don't like that. So just mixing it up here and there. And again, these little planters in the middle, and as you can see, it's already starting to really fill it all up. It's fine that guests see these buildings from a distance. That's actually quite necessary, because what that does is it draws our guests towards the buildings, towards the entrance. But that is pretty much all. We added a little fountain, but it's time now to go ahead and look at the cinematics. And there it is. As you can see, so much more work to be done, but so much that we have done today with the plant work. It looks absolutely stunning. There we can see the visual perspective on our main entrance, and the addition to the right hand side that we did. It's a lovely building, lovely little fountain in front of the hotel, and we can see how the bridges really break this whole area up. The view from the main hotel lobby is also very nice, and a bit of night lighting as a treat looks very nice. Comment down below what you thought of this episode. This is what the park looks like so far. For more Planet Coaster 2, subscribe, like, and comment. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.